Hey folks, I'm back with another video. So you may have heard the term junk fees a lot these days, primarily from consumer channels and from the Biden administration bringing it up again and again over the last year as one of the issues that they have determined that they want to make changes in. Junk fees is what they call hidden fees across many industries: cable industry, finance, banking, and particularly the travel industry, airlines and hotels. So since last year, Pete Buttigieg, Transport Secretary, has done many press conferences. President Biden has himself done. He, in fact, at the State of the Union last year, he brought it up as well. And so, for what was a term that didn't really exist a, less than a year ago, to now coming into mainstream consciousness, and how should the travel industry think about this? That's what I want the video to be. That's what this video is going to be about. And why the travel industry cannot win this battle. It cannot fight back. There's no chance it will win, not so much against the administration, but very much against the public sentiment that's against them on this issue. They can't ignore it. They'll have to tackle it head on, and in many cases give in to what the government is asking, which is transparency in most cases, and in some cases doing away with some of these fees. It's just how it will be. It's a bipartisan issue that there's an agreement on it. Very few things, as you know, today in US, there's bipartisan agreement on, and the public sentiment is 100% with it. I remember when we were starting Skift, the issue of baggage fees was there. There was a lot of consumer resistance. Obviously, it became normal. People pay for that. That's part of this junk fees conversation. There was a bunch of conversation about overcharging for Wi-Fi. Early days of Wi-Fi being on in hotels, airlines, as well as airports as well, and other places in travel ecosystem. And the travel industry, hotel industry particularly, fought a lot, saying we should charge for it, and not just for the leisure, for the room areas, but also for the meeting spaces that they had. And they lost that battle. The consumers were 100% wanted free Wi-Fi, and almost everybody now today in the hotel space gives away free Wi-Fi. If you're a loyalty member, that's sort of become the norm. And even in the US airlines and even international airlines, global airlines, Wi-Fi is becoming free. So on a topic where consumers latch onto this relatively easy sort of red meat issue, if you will, this is a time where the junk fees will continue to become a big mainstream issue, and travel industry cannot win. So let me give you context. There's only, I'll sort of pull back quite a bit, and you may be surprised to sort of see how far I pull back. People have said this many times: only two ways to make money in business: bundling and unbundling. And it goes in cycles. Travel industry, from a fare perspective, and airlines was the first on it, has been in a process of unbundling for the last 10-15 years, maybe more, a little bit, on their fares. And started with low-cost airlines. Spirit was one of the pioneers in it, and many other airlines over the years, and others in Europe have pioneered the way for. You could argue that the ticket price for flights have completely unbundled, and then what used to be called baggage fees is how it started, is now sort of a whole ancillary fees industry that is hugely profitable for airlines. In the hotel industry, the unbundling hasn't happened to the extent, but what is tack-on fees, like resort fees, has been there for a long time in the hotel industry. And all of these are being bundled together when we talk about junk fees. That's sort of what the industry is saying. You can also add airlines, hotels, and then short-term rentals as well, where Airbnb, certainly the biggest face of the short-term rental industry, has trends every day on Twitter or other social media networks around outrageous fees, whether it's cleaning fees, primarily cleaning fees, but other types of fees as well. Many times the companies themselves have voluntarily reacted to these outrages, if you will, and put more transparency upfront on pricing. Airbnb is an example. They earlier this year started showing the full price when you search, and that's how it is. Airlines, by regulation during Obama administration, had to start showing full price when people are searching. They can't just say basic fare and then hide the taxes and all types of other fees. Hotels have generally escaped it, but now there's a lot more focus on it, particularly around resort fees and why they need to be charged. And so this is a battle, as I said, the travel industry cannot win. Just day before, the two senators, let me read it. U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar and Jerry Moran, Democrat and Republican, so bipartisan, as they said, introduced the Bipartisan Hotel Fee Transparency Act. The act would require the hotels and short-term rentals to clearly show the final prices of any room they're advertising. The proposed legislation is a response to growing rancor towards resort fees, or as critics call them, junk fees. Some hotels, including Marriott, have already responded to increasing ire over added fees by agreeing to offer more transparent pricing on website and app channels. It says NerdWallet has reported that Wyndham Hotels and Resorts charges the highest percentage fees as compared to the room cost itself. So this is an issue that won't go away. Now we will see whether this legislation actually passes both houses of Congress. There's a chance that it gets bundled into some of the larger big must-pass bills that will be sneaked in there and passes. And so AHLA, American Hotel and Lodging Association, is fighting this. AHLA has been on the wrong side of history, pretty much every big issue in America. Surprise, surprise. And so they're saying that most of the hotels don't charge this fees, and they're sort of playing both sides of the coin, saying they support this bill, but it's not an issue. So that's what I mean. It's an issue that travel industry shouldn't push back on, and even if the regulation doesn't come, should voluntarily, at this point, put at least price transparency in the game, because through their channels, whether it's websites, the OTAs have also been wrapped on it for many years on showing all types of fees or trying to do all types of tricks and showing lower prices up front, but then you add all the stuff and it becomes higher. I would even, this is where I said I'm going to expand the scope quite a bit. The unbundling that's happening on the insurance side, travel insurance side, where companies like Hopper are charging people on their side, cancel for any reason. There's a price, hold this price for 24 hours. There was as you know, because Skift broke this exclusively, the Expedia Hopper spat, where Expedia stopped supplying inventory to Hopper over what they said was some not completely clean behavior from Hopper and how they market these add-on fintech add-ons to the tickets. Unbundling happening there as well. Again, and there was an incident where, and I think we reported on it, on Hopper charging tip for just buying a ticket online. So these types of things give a bad name to the travel industry. Certainly trying to trick people into buying things is the worst way to go and won't pass any type of regulatory or legal muster. There's a column I read by Ben Baldanza, who's the former CEO of Spirit, and he said we should distinguish between what's really junk fees and unbundling of the fare and then ancillaries that get top of it. And it's a nuanced point. I get it, which is they're genuine things that are being unbundled, the price is being lowered for the airline actual just basic ticket, and then you add on some stuff to it for people who need it. But adding fees, tacking on fees for things that people are used to, and completely blatantly trying to just get more revenue per user is something that would have been fine 10, 15, 20 years ago, but in an age of social media, in an age of polarization, in an age where activism against any type of corporate issues gain prominence very quickly, will not pass. So the point of this video is that the travel industry should not fight this and be very cognizant that junk fees is a real issue. Cannot ignore it. The CEO should be ahead of it in their public statements and say they're making all efforts to make it as transparent as possible. And that's the way to go. There's no other way to go. We will at Skift continue to do a lot of reporting on it. And our Skift Global Forum that's coming up in September, a lot of big CEOs are speaking. Many of them have been accused of these types of fees. And so we will ask them about it as well. So thank you for listening.